Welcome, stranger, to a relatively spoiler-free review of Resident Evil 4 Remake. In this review, I'm going to be talking about the overall gameplay and combat, some of the changes, and my first-hand experience of playing the revamped Resident Evil 4 Remake. The title has undergone some changes, improvements, and now looks much more modern. Is it worth a buy though? Should you even play if you haven't played the previous titles? Well, let's get into it. If you haven't played the original, let me give you a quick rundown of the premise of Resident Evil 4. The story follows the original 2005 title featuring Leon, a special agent, on a mission to save the US president's daughter who has been kidnapped. This leads him to a remote village in Europe only to find that something is definitely not right with the villagers. Rumours of a strange cult is also circling, making for a great setting for a survival horror, no doubt. The events of the fourth entry are roughly 6 years after the biological disaster of Raccoon City. It looks like the effects of these events are only getting started. Much like the original, the game focuses on characters that you know and love, with some modern reworkings. Even if you haven't played any of the previous titles, the game does a good job of giving a little background about the whole situation. Since the game mainly focuses on Leon, you won't have a hard time following what's going on. You will find pieces of lore dotted around the game which help build a greater picture. While still part of the main story, its focus is on the rescue and the strange happenings of this remote village. Players will enjoy the same third-person perspective they experienced in the original. Of course, the remake has undergone a major graphics upgrade to suit more modern consoles. It's also been given much-needed updates to controls. No constant snapback when you're trying to look around, which was a particular gripe of mine in the original. Everything feels smooth and as it should be. You can actually now take in all the details, look at the ground, and take in the morbid scenery. You also have the use of quick turns, which are a staple in RE games. One noticeable absence is the lack of quick time events. I'm not such a fan of these kind of interactions, as they always got me caught off guard, especially when I'm watching a cutscene and I'm enjoying it and then suddenly BAM! QTE, go. Now developers can implement much better interactions that match modern day consoles. Some may miss them, but honestly, I don't think it's a loss at all. Okay, let's talk about the combat. Instead, you have combat mechanics to enjoy, such as the new knife interaction, letting you stab up close. However, knives degrade over time, meaning you will have to use them sparingly or they break. This is a great addition as it gives another option when it comes to combat, but adds a double-edged blade as the knife could be destroyed in the process. Playing on standard, I still felt the same sense of dread as playing the game for the first time. Mobs now work together to hold you in place while you mash down that X to get yourself free. If you're not careful, they can really pin you into a corner, especially if you break the first rule of an RE game, which is to spend too much ammo. I am guilty of this, and there are definitely moments where you deeply regret your decisions in doing this. As the game relies heavily on the knife mechanics now though, you're going to have to really weigh your options when you're given the choice between stabbing directly or choosing to risk some health. This does shake up the combat, and it makes the fights feel much more dynamic. The improvements to the weapons system loadout makes it easy to swap between guns mid-fight, so you don't have to really worry about, which gun you're going to pick or which one you want to select. You can simply assign them to your weapons loadout, and that makes things so much easier than compared to the original. If you've played the demo, you will know too well that mini-bosses in the game, like the chainsaw guy, are unrelenting. Running away from more challenging foes while being surrounded by a group of villagers really puts your skills to the test. It's often in these moments your aim needs to be true. Of course, you can upgrade, which can help to improve damage, reload speed, etc. Of course, you will need some cash to get the ball rolling. This leads me to one of my favourite parts of the game. Puzzles. Resident Evil is known for setting players on a path of mystery to unlock treasures and useful items through puzzles. Puzzles have been revamped and, without giving too much away, still feel like the classic enigmas you know and love. These often lead precious items which may be invaluable for your survival. There's nothing like being chased down by enemies while you try to remember to locate parts of a puzzle or be on the lookout for items. This just makes the experience so much more unnerving, and the Resident Evil 4 Remake does a great job in certain places of making very, very intense situations. Be prepared for some gore. Since the game has had a major boost in the graphics department, you can see all the blood and guts as well as some lovely, real lovely crunchy ASMR to accompany you in these visuals. Rain cascades down, making the game's iconic moments feel that more gloomy and intense. Bosses, characters and locations have all been given some work. While murkier settings are still quite dark, it's quite the contrast from the original game. I actually checked out the game on PS4 and it actually ran really well. Obviously playing on current gen platforms such as PlayStation 5 or playing on PC will probably result in faster load times down to SSD. I didn't find the load times too cumbersome though. Graphics are sharp and characters now look more crisp. They have been reworked but are in keeping with the style of the game. The environments are highly detailed, with some areas having been reworked to fit it with the gameplay, and it just looks stunning. Marveling at the surroundings when you have time to catch your breath, that is. Voice acting is superb with some new voice lines that fit in with the RE4's cheesy humour at times to lighten the mood. The merchant is by far my favourite and he always has some great banter to welcome you. The music, ambient sounds and sound effects add to the tense moments in the game and really adds new heights to the horrors that you will engage in. Honestly, I had a lot of fun playing this game and revisiting the locations and also seeing the same characters again. Resident Evil is one of those iconic franchises that you know that you're in for a good zombie-filled time from the moment you start. Resident Evil 4 is a classic title that honestly needed just some love when it came to controls. The remake does all that and more to satisfy those who are looking for a thrill ride of horror survival. For those experiencing it for the first time, you're in for a treat as now the game runs smoother and has great graphics to boot. For those who are revisiting RE4, you're in for some changes. Gameplay feels much more fluid and chapters seem to flow a little better. While the game has had a refresh, you will still get that nostalgic feel of the original title, but now with tweaks here and there, as well as some surprises. The overall feeling is the game has been given some more enhancements, reworking what could have been better, and just adding to what already works. However, there's definitely enough to make the game feel up to date, refreshed, and worth playing through. One thing is for certain, you're in for a wild ride. This title is a great survival horror for those who like a challenge, and for those who love the original. While I would have been more open to more changes, I understand why it's been kept close to its core. Overall, if you're a fan of Resident Evil and looking for a refreshed experience, you will have a great time. We hope you enjoyed our Resident Evil 4 Remake review. Be sure to check out more of our videos on our channel, and if you want to experience the game with us when it launches on March 24th, be sure to drop by our Twitch channel. Resident Evil 4 Remake releases on March 24th for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC.